Okie dokie, welcome back ladies and gentlemen for another YouTube video. Allincrypto here, and today we are going to be dropping another jam-packed daily cryptocurrency market update. If you are new to my channel and finding yourself on my videos for the first time today, don't forget to check out that subscribe button because we drop an update just like this one around 1 PM UK time every single day to help you guys stay up to date with the latest and greatest things happening within the crypto space, but also the broader markets. That's exactly what we're going to be doing in this video. It's going to be very heavily crypto focused though, however, as today was the day that the Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETFs went live over in Hong Kong, and we've seen some disappointment surrounding that. We are going to be starting the video off there. We're actually going to be diving over to a clip covering the actual opening of these ETFs, signified by the three issuers of the Bitcoin ETFs with the banging of a gong over in Hong Kong. And I did not mean to make that rhyme, but it did. So we're going to be looking at that. We're going to be looking at what's kind of taken place, what the broader ramifications of all this are. Then we'll be looking at Bitcoin, its current price. It is currently selling off right now. Remember, we are still under those macro headwinds. We're going to be talking about those, reintroducing them, looking at the dollar, what that's doing. And then we're going to be finishing things off with a former CFTC enforcer, or enforcement attorney, actually talking about the fact that she believes an Ethereum ETF is coming. And this was signaled by the approval of the SEC's approval of an ETH futures ETF in October 2023, so last year. So we have a lot to get into, guys. Do not fear, Allincrypto is here. Don't panic. It's a normal day in the cryptocurrency market. Let's start things off with the banging of some gongs.
We're here at the live ceremony at the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, and the market is open. It is 9:30. We're just running a couple minutes behind, but you can see they are assembling in front of the gong. This is a big listing ceremony today, the launch of crypto ETFs. It'll be the first time in Asia retail investors have a chance to trade cryptocurrency ETFs at spot prices. Now, this comes just 3 months after the U.S. launch of similar ETFs tracking spot Bitcoin. It has drawn billions in dollars of net inflows, also contributing to a surge in a Bitcoin price earlier this year. Year to date, it's about 50%. It has hit all-time highs last month, over 73,000 US dollars. Now, you can see that the Bitcoin ETFs, there's about 14 ETFs that have hit the market today from 3 different issuers. Those issuers are China Asset Management Company, Harvest Global Investment, and Hashkey Exchange. You can see the countdown has started.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Woohoo! There we go. So you now have live, for the first time ever over in Hong Kong, the Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETFs. It's going to be really interesting to see how things play out. And thus far, you will notice the cryptocurrency market, Bitcoin down around about 4%, is selling off. And this, of course, is on the back end of all of this. So crypto plunges after Hong Kong ETFs launch. The world's leading cryptocurrency continues their downtrend. On Tuesday, with Bitcoin falling below 62,000 mark after Hong Kong launches its first crypto exchange traded fund. The 6 Hong Kong ETFs missed market expectations on the first day of trading, as they have a combined trading volume of only $11 million, a tiny fraction of the $100 million expected. It's not great. It has come up massively under. However, just like with the, is there a bit of buy the rumor, sell the news going on here? Absolutely. So people would have been positioning before this and likely adjusting on it, certainly when they've seen the miss. You've got to think what this now sets in motion. So this basically unlocks a massive pool of liquidity or capital in Asia through the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. And it is a really bullish event. But with all things, these things take time to kind of play out and work through. And we saw a similar thing actually with the Bitcoin spot ETFs. Yes, they did significantly better in the United States. However, it took a little bit of time. They didn't have their kind of winning days or their outstanding days until later on. It wasn't initially on the launch. It was a few days after. So I think we will see this pick up. Not too worried about the kind of price action that we're seeing. If we do look at Bitcoin, you know, we are definitely, in my opinion, still in a broader uptrend. This is still a bull market. You've got seasonality going on right now. You've got the dollar leaning on things based on inflation. But like we looked at in yesterday's video, you have got the eventuality, which is what gold and silver are signaling, that there's going to be a real inflationary period for assets due to the continued devaluation of the debt markets, or certainly debt and money itself. We are seeing, despite the Fed's QT, the broad money supply actually increasing. So this was going into this from Eric Balanchunas. China AMC is pretty confident that Hong Kong can outdo the US in Bitcoin ETF flows and volume on day one. Oh dear. Oh. Which starts in a few hours. Also says other regions like Shanghai and Middle East could seek out the ETFs, although confirmed off limits for China mainland. So obviously China mainland, you're not going to enter. I was listening to a great podcast this morning actually on kind of China and what's going on with Huawei and how they've done quite well. And actually there's a lot of nationalism involved in that and what they're doing with their chips. Very interesting. So mainland China's kind of out the question. Of course, their party is never going to, the party that runs mainland China is never going to allow them to buy something that isn't their system and support another system. That's certainly one where the West could profit from it or benefit from it. That's why you don't see tech companies in China, and vice versa. We don't really see Chinese companies in the West, or we see some, but typically, you know, a lot of them do kind of get severed before they get here. So Zhu Hokang, I'm definitely saying that wrong. I am very confident that the initial listing scale of Hong Kong's virtual asset spot ETFs, more than 125 million US dollars, can exceed the issuance scale on the first day of the United States. The issuance scale of the 10 US Bitcoin spot ETF issuers on the first day of January the 10th this year was 125 million. Huxon is confident that it will become the largest ETF issuer among the three issuers. The details will be revealed to everyone at 9:30 tomorrow. So I was asleep when all this was going on, although I did have alarms going throughout the night. Another really interesting point about all of this was, note also that this is the first time we will get clean look at how popular ETH is relative to Bitcoin's ETF format. What percentage of net flows do you think they will grab? I think 10% or less. James Seyfarth is slightly more optimistic. I'd love to, once we get the channel big enough, I'd really like to get these guys on the show, maybe do like a macro Monday session or something. So the 3 Hong Kong spot ETFs are going to start trading in a few hours. They are ready to go on the terminal. I can't find the tickers on TradingView. If anyone knows where you can find those, please let me know in the description. Obviously a little bit more optimistic, but this is kind of, we've only seen $11 million in our position with what was expected by the issuer. Of course, he's going to big it up. He was expecting over 125 million. And this is what Bitcoin's price is doing on the back end. Where it's a normal day in the cryptocurrency market, guys. Altcoins, very volatile. Remember, Total 2 is one of the most important charts for us. I need to see this right shoulder forming. We are still in a bull market. It's a good and bad day for me personally. You know, I am actually starting a 1 to 100K challenge with my Patreons. And at a later date, I will sort of reveal some more about that to the public, where I'm looking to basically take very small altcoins and try and do exactly what it says on the tin. Turn a small investment, 1,000 into 100,000. I'm not saying I'm going to get there, but I'm going to try my hardest based on some altcoins that I already own in sectors that I think are going to do very well. And those sectors are the likes of computing, AI, storage, and a number of others that we'll talk more at a later date. So it's not looking great for crypto today, to be entirely honest, certainly with Bitcoin sort of rocking the boat. And you've got interesting things coming out for the stock market. There's a lot going on. Gold selling off today. After an amazing run, you can see this wick really sort of getting hammered out and the dollar gaining a little bit of strength. Interesting thing happened with the dollar yesterday with Japan actually intervening in the Forex markets. They need to just for some sort of stability. And actually the US is on a similar trajectory to Japan. It's kind of walking the line that Japan went on before it got there to where it is today. So do go and watch if you've not already seen yesterday's video on the sort of more broader scope of things and why we think one of the biggest bull markets in history is going to arrive. You're just dealing with sharp when it comes to crypto right now. But remember, we still have those broader targets. It's been a brutal. I mean, what was this monthly candle saying? Got a couple of monthly candle. Yeah. Had an amazing run, 1 or 2 red candles within that, through sort of April, May, and then we get back on track. I wouldn't be against it. It gives me time to sort of load up on some of the altcoins that we're looking at. The next thing I want to sort of wrap things up on, so to summarize all of that, really what's happening with crypto right now is you still have it a part of the kind of broader macro landscape. Remember that dollar's still being strong, inflation's still causing a lot of unease when it comes to the markets. I'm still yet to follow up on how Janet Yellen's kind of report went yesterday in regards to the bond market. But I'll check that out and likely do something on that in a video tomorrow. But yeah, massive undershoot from the Hong Kong Bitcoin ETFs. It's going to be interesting to see what the Ethereum ones, and we'll cover this tomorrow, actually rolling at. But this is, what crypto does. It goes up, it goes down. But in an uptrend, we're hopefully going to go up more than we go down. Otherwise, it wouldn't be an uptrend. I want to finish things off with Laura Brookover. She says, speaking as a former CFTC enforcement attorney, this is solid analyst. Read Adam Cochran's on why the SEC approval of Ethereum futures ETFs in October 2023 means the SEC officially endorses again the CFTC's position that Ethereum is a commodity, not a security. And he's got a 14-piece thread here. So some folks are confused as to why the SEC ETH is a security timeline and the futures ETF is bad for the SEC. Here's a quick breakdown on why it paints Gensler into a corner. Futures historically were on commodity assets, and so the administration of those futures fell to the CFTC, Commodities Future Trading Commission. This is the only thing the CFTC is concerned with, as spot commodity trading isn't regulated in the US. As the market started to develop futures based on securities, this led to some complexity between what should be administered by the SEC versus the CFTC. To solve this, Congress introduced a clear guidance for security futures products, SFPs. Any broad-based securities index where the type of future that the CFTC had sole administration over, these were things like a future based on the S&P 500 index, so security-based futures. However, anything that was narrow-based security index had to be jointly managed by the CFTC and SEC. This would include single asset futures of securities, and any future ETF would still have to follow these guidelines and have the ETF portion approved by the SEC. So they deal with the kind of derivative side of things, not the kind of underlying commodity, if you will, if Ethereum is a commodity. Meaning that at this time, if there was a disagreement between the CFTC and SEC to the status of something, SEC could shoot it down. However, they've approved it. So the CFTC maintains a searchable database for all assets registered and allows you to select securities futures projects as a category. Here are the SFP certificates from the CME, which is the exchange that they're on. You'll notice that Bitcoin and Ethereum futures are not listed here. So they're not security futures products, is essentially what this is saying. That means the CFTC's view the futures as a commodity, since it is not registered as an SFP under the narrow-based index scope. So that means the timeline is as follows. February 2021, CME launches Ethereum future contracts. March 2023, SEC takes position Ethereum may be a security. October of 2023, SEC approves 9 Ethereum futures ETFs on an accelerated basis. Let's get through this. To approve this asset, the SEC have to agree that the futures are not a SFP security. Futures products is what that stands for, remember that. But under an accelerated approval, they make a specific statement that the commission reviewed the public interest and protection of investors in order to be accelerated. You can see this is what there is there. So they cannot take the argument the CFTC snuck this past us, or this approval of the futures is a separate issue, or it's just rubber stamp, because the SEC has expressed jurisdiction over narrow SFPs. To accelerate, they must review investors' risk on underlying assets in an ETF. They internally claimed to be reviewing Ethereum as a security prior to the approval date. So this means ETH is a commodity. Gensler knows this and still goes after it for political gain. Remember, it's a land grab, or the SEC is poorly run. They accelerated an ETFs for the unregistered SP on the unregistered securities while investigating it. Either merit Gensler being recalled. Gensler can't have it both ways. Either Ethereum is not a security, or he failed at protecting the American people by accelerating the approval of an ETF that the SEC should have had 2 different levels of approval over. That's why this matters. And I thought that was a great kind of thread to throw in there. It seems like a dark day for the cryptocurrency space, obviously coming on the back end of the kind of lackluster ETF, Hong Kong ETF movement. However, understand that you are in an asset class that hasn't even been allowed to become an asset class. You know, I believe that the total 2 is going to get to $3.7 trillion, or I think it is. I shouldn't say I believe. And we have probably one of the biggest bull markets in history for assets ahead of us due to the proliferation of the debt-based systems, the fiat systems, money itself, at a hugely accelerated level. Keep the faith. You know, we're going through seasonality with markets. Markets have always had seasonality to them. Even when agricultural was the largest market, we didn't have the kind of stock market, things like this that we have today. You have seasonality, you have times to plant and times to reap. And that's what we're kind of seeing right now taking place with the markets. We've got those macro headwinds. We've got internal things going on. Paints a doom and gloom picture. But when you take a step back, you look at the trend that we're in, you look at the kind of surroundings that we find ourselves in, technically what we're looking at, you know, we still think there's an amazing time ahead for crypto investors. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. If you've enjoyed the content, like us, appreciate it, as a comment, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next.